Oh, it's on!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first episode of The Pitch Unhinged. The concept is we bring up controversial questions about a specific sport and have an unhinged debate about it. Today, we're talking baseball. We have three questions. The first question we're going to talk about for 5 minutes, the second one, 4 minutes, and then the third one, 3 minutes. This way, you have a limited amount of time to get your point in, and you have to be quick and directly to the point. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, topic number one. You're on the clock. All right. So every month I release my monthly MLB power rankings. In my latest one at the beginning of May, I put the Yankees at number 5. Since then, they are 11-3. As a Yankees fan, how delusional would it be to put the New York Yankees at number 1 in my next power ranking?
So, as a Yankees fan, I'm very excited and optimistic, especially about the past week with our 7-game win streak coming to an end against the Mariners last night.
Call foul,
But
call foul.
yeah, very, giving up 4 runs in the ninth inning, you hate to see that. But as much as I would love to put them at number 1, and I think that might be the direction they're going in, I don't think they're there yet. They've been hot in the month of May, but there are two other teams who I put ahead of the Yankees, that being the Dodgers and the Phillies. I think many people would agree with
You
me.
have the Phillies ahead.
I have the Phillies and Dodgers both ahead of the Yankees.
Yeah, I agree with you. Put the Yankees at 3, but those aren't the two teams I would put ahead of the Yankees. I'd put the Orioles ahead of the Yankees because if you saw that series when they went down to Baltimore, they got their butts kicked. In 4 games, they didn't score more than 2 runs once the entire series.
Yeah,
And I can't put them ahead of the Orioles until I see them go ahead and beat the Orioles head to head. And also, I agree with you with the Dodgers. You see the Dodgers right now, they're number 1 in the league in OPS, and they're also a top team in ERA as well. Here, I have them. They are the number 3 team in the league in the ERA, and that was without Walker and Buehler. Now, if they have Glasnow, Yamamoto, and Buehler, Yamamoto also got off to a weak start. If they have all 3 of those guys going strong, their rotation is scary. They have the best lineup in baseball. They're my number 1 team. But my number 2 team is Baltimore. I don't think that the Phillies are as special as their number 1 record in baseball might portray. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I don't think that they're better than the Yankees.
hey, I definitely see that. And the Orioles do seem to be that team that many are putting over the Yankees towards the end of the season. But how the rankings look right now, especially with the standings and who's hot, I do think I would put New York over Baltimore, just for the time being. With 30% of the season down, and the Yankees, coming in a couple games ahead. I like
Well,
how
the
I'm
Yankees have
seeing them.
played a much easier schedule, no? They played
The
the White
Yankees,
Sox. They
the Yankees
played
do
the
have the
averages
best
twice. They played
record
the
against teams
Tigers.
above 500 so far this season. So
Good stat, good pull right there. Either way, I wouldn't put the Phillies ahead of the Yankees. But again, it's hard for me to put Baltimore ahead, especially with that incredible lineup they have. You see Garner Henderson going over the extended wall opposite field, a lefty going deep to left in Baltimore is incredible. Adley Rutschman, Jackson Holliday is eventually going to get going. That Corbin Burns. What I didn't like about Baltimore last year was they didn't have that guy that could go win you that must-win game 7 playoff game. They win and they got their guy. They got Corbin Burns. So in a 7-game series, I'm not sure I have the Yankees beating the Orioles right now.
hey, I totally see that. And to be honest, it might come down to who's hotter in the moment.
Oh,
I
100%.
I see the Yankees as a more shaky up and down team, meaning if they catch fire, September, October time, I'm really optimistic. But on the other end, they could totally flop towards the end of the season, and we won't see much of a postseason run from them. So I like where the Orioles are at as far as a consistency standpoint, but as far as how the Yankees are playing right now, it's hard not to see them above.
All right, we got 30 seconds left. What I'm going to say is that the New York Yankees right now, they're tied third in the league for most runs scored. However, they had back-to-back games against the Brewers where they scored 15 runs. If we would make those normal games, let's say where they scored 5 runs, take off 20 runs from their total, they fall all the way down to tied 15th of the league for runs scored. So that inconsistency, that concerns me with the New York Yankees.
For sure.
All right, now let's move on to our second topic. We got 4 minutes on the clock. The Philadelphia Phillies, the team with the current best record in baseball, are they contenders or pretenders?
I think they're for real this year. As you mentioned, they do have the best record in baseball, which has to translate to something. They are hot right now, which could mean that it's just a streak going 26-6 since April 15th. But I do believe that they're in it for the long run. We saw last year that they made a deep run into the playoffs, finishing one game shy of the World Series. And I think they have what it takes to recreate that again.
So at the beginning of the year, I said that the Phillies are an overrated team. They're a team that hasn't won 90 games in a couple of years. They're simply built for the playoffs. And while they might have outperformed my expectations, they might be better than I expected. I still have two major concerns with the Phillies. The first one being is that to date, the Phillies have only had one series against an opponent with a record of 500. Their first one against the Atlanta Braves. But since then, they have not faced an above 500 team. They will have 5 series against above 500 opponents in July. They will have 5 in August and 4 in October. Well, in September. I think that we can see the Phillies really crash towards the end of the year. The second one was that when I looked at 7 of their starters' baseball savant pages, I saw a very concerning pattern. We look at these 7 guys. Bryce Harper, 29th percentile in chase rate, 24th percentile in K rate. Trey Turner, 22nd percentile in walk rate. JT Realmuto, 31st percentile in K rate, 22nd percentile in walk rate. Brandon Marsh, 15th percentile in K rate. Yohan Rojas, 14th percentile in chase rate and 12th percentile in walk rate. Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber are the most concerning. Castellanos is 6th percentile in chase rate, in the 5th percentile in whiff rate. Kyle Schwarber is in the 8th percentile in whiff rate and the 11th percentile in K rate. Overall, out of these 7 players, they have 4 in the worst 31% K rate, 3 in the worst 22% walk rate, 3 in the worst 30% chase rate, and 2 in the worst 8% in whiff rate. When this team faces legit pitching, when they face guys who know how to get swings and misses, they know how to get strikeouts, they will be helpless. They will crash. We saw late in the playoffs last year, they were cruising. All of a sudden, they faced guys that knew how to pitch, such as Mel Kelly and Zach Allen in the NLCS, and they were stunned. They fell off out of nowhere, and I think we'll see that late in the year again. The Philadelphia Phillies are pretenders.
I don't know. I feel that they have what it takes to keep their heads above water till it comes to the postseason. And we know how electric they can get in the postseason, making a run for themselves.
Yeah,
Once
Zach
the postseason
Wheeler.
start, it's a whole new game. It's a whole new season starting at the postseason. So with
Wheeler
this
and Nola are a
start,
great 1-2 punch in the playoffs. You're right. If they get into the
yeah,
playoffs, I agree with you. If they get into a right side of the playoffs, I agree with you. But for the remainder of the regular season, I don't think they're one of the best teams. I think they also lose to the Dodgers in the playoff series.
hey, that's definitely a possibility. But I'm confident that they're going to get themselves there, and I'm really interested to see how they fare in the postseason.
All right, so we're going to move on to our last topic. We are now have 3 minutes on the clock. MLB standings, the records. At what point of the season do they get legitimacy? Well, a lot of times we see people get very excited about their teams, and we say, "Hey, calm down until early in the year." At what point can you say, "Yeah, get excited about this record"?
Yeah, so I know how exciting it can get seeing your team get off to a hot start, a couple of winning streaks here and there early in the season. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean too much for the end of the season. With about 30% of the season passed, um, I like what I'm seeing. But with that being said, I don't think the games get too crucial till mid-August and maybe even early August, until September, where each game is really so crucial for the
So
team season.
saying that the games don't get too crucial is a bit crazy to me because you see the Yankees and the Royals, two very good teams. It's probably going to come down to 1 or 2 games at the end of the season. So every head-to-head matchup between those two teams is incredibly crucial. Then about the records, I think that as the season goes on, you can divide it into tiers. And the closer you get to the playoffs, the more tiers you can divide into. I think the first mark is probably about mid-June. You could divide it into the good teams such as the Yankees and Dodgers, the medium teams such as the Rays and the Tigers, and the bad teams such as the Marlins of the world. And I don't think you could start making these tiers yet because of teams like the Houston Astros. A couple of weeks ago, a lot of people will tell you that these Houston Astros are a bottom tier team, but now they're getting hot. They're back up into third in their division. They're back into a wild card conversation. And right now, they're definitely looking like a middle tier team. In a couple of weeks, couple of months, they might be a higher tier team.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned Houston. I mean, we all know them as that team that can always make a run in the postseason.
Never count them out.
And even despite their shaky and even bad start to the season, I would call it, they're going to be around come September time. So yeah, despite the league kind of having a little bit of form at the moment, I wouldn't cement anything in stone till at least a couple months.
Like, I think I could tell you that the White Sox aren't a good team, but again, the jury's still open on so many teams, such as the 24 and 24 Rangers, the 24 and 23 Twins, the 23 and 24 Tigers. I still think that the Tigers could be a playoff team. The jury's still out for so many teams. All right, so that's going to be it for the first episode of The Pitch Unhinged. Thank you for watching. As we go on, we're going to try to add some guests, bring in some interviews, add some other concepts as well. Like and subscribe. Make sure to hit the bell so that you see our next episode.
Oh, it's on!